Welcome into the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com for Saturday, January 18th at the Fairgrounds. I'm Tom Leach along with Jim Goodman, Keeneland's Director of Wagering Development. They have a Derby prep, the Lecomte, that wraps up a late pick 4 of all stakes races at the Fairgrounds. So that's what we're taking a look at. We'll take them in order, starting in the 10th with the Grade 3 Louisiana. 4-year-olds and up on the dirt going a mile and a 16th. Some familiar names in here, and several of these are also entered in the next race on the turf, the Colonel E.R. Bradley, so that makes it a little challenging for our purposes. So we'll just take them as they come. Jim, what about the Louisiana if all of these go?
Got a couple of issues. You only got 8 horses in the Louisiana. I'm assuming that the horses that I'm picking here are better dirt horses than they are turf horses. I don't know why you would get out of a $100,000 race on dirt try $125,000 in the turf. They're both ungraded. So I'm going to assume that these horses are going to go in this race, and the 3 of the horses that I'm picking are cross-entered. The other thing at Fairgrounds, there's a 50% chance of rain on Saturday. And Fairgrounds turf course is taking a beating this winter, so keep that in mind, too. I'm going to handicap it like we're going to be on the turf, though, so we're going to try that. I like Silver Dust, the Brett Calhoun horse coming off a long way off. The first race, won the Churchill, or finished second Lucas Classic, got beat by Mosito Rojo. The horse has won like 18 straight or something like that. And Silver Dust was right there at the end. Gave him some time off. I don't think there's been any issues. He's back training well and going to be 3-1 in morning line. I think he's a deserving favorite. Jack Gilligan is not my favorite jockey at Fairgrounds, so that would be one thing, but he's very used to this horse. Blended Citizen for Cox and Giroux is also going to be right there. Captivating Moon for Chris Block and B.J. Hernandez. And the 4th horse that I like is Gunnet for Rasmussen. Horse is not as seasoned as these others, but maybe has a little more upside. Gunnet was very impressive at Churchill winning the allowance race back in November and came back and at first triple Fairgrounds did not win at 6-5. Got beat by Warriors Charge, but I think Gunnet's got a shot in here as well. I would pick Silver Dust to win. Blended Citizen's got a big shot as well.
And I'm taking Blended Citizen. Kind of looks like this horse is maybe taking his game up a notch in the 2 starts for Brad Cox. Sometimes just a barn switch does the trick. He had some decent races for Doug O'Neill, but really has seemingly moved up a bit with Cox. And it's the second race over the track, which I like. Nearly made it 2 for 2 last time in that race at Churchill. And that was a pretty decent bunch, or at Fairgrounds, rather. And then Silver Dust, I like off since September 28th, but Calhoun's record with this kind of layoff is good. Captivating Moon, I thought, ran really well last time on the off track and could be an off track again, and he had a good number. So I'm going to go with those 3 when we get to the pick 4. Blended Citizen is the win pick. The 11th race, Colonel E.R. Bradley at a mile and a 16th, about a mile and a 16th on the turf. Going to assume this stays on the turf, and I'm going to go to a horse that loves the Fairgrounds, Mr. Misunderstood, way on the outside, but it's a long stretch at the Fairgrounds, and this horse has won 3 out of 5 there. And the last race looked like the horse finally was, the last couple of races, getting back to his top form. Seemed to be a little slow out of the gate last year. Not slow actually out of the gate, but just with his form slow getting up to where he had been previously. But those last couple of starts, particularly the last one, the numbers come back similar to what his best numbers had been the previous year. So Mr. Misunderstood is the pick for me. And then there's 3 Mike Maker horses, and I'm going to use all 3 of them. Parlor, first time off a claim's real intriguing. I think that horse, I've always thought, had a little more ability than he had shown. And Temple, the 8, Space Mountain, the 5, also from the Maker barn. So I'm going to use all 3 of the Maker horses, and then Mr. Misunderstood when we get to the pick 4. How about you?
I think that's a logical win pick. I don't like the 14-hole in any race, but if anybody can overcome it, it's Giroux, and this horse doesn't have to be close to the lead. And like you say, he loves Fairgrounds at 3 out of 5 there, and he's never really run a bad race there. So I think that he's good everywhere else, too. He's just a very, very consistent horse, and his 6-year-old season gets kicked off, and will probably win from the outside. But I've got a couple other horses that intrigue me as well. Parlor was one of them. part of me would like to see Joe Talamo win a stakes race. I'm glad Joe Talamo has moved his tack back to Louisiana and is going to be full time at Oakland and going to be full time in Kentucky now. So that's one of the California jockeys who are coming back to our circuit. So I'm glad to see that. Be interesting to see how he fits this horse, and Mike Maker gives him a shot here, and I'd like to see him win. The other horse that I like is a horse that you didn't mention, Don't Blame Rocket. And the same angle with Mr. Misunderstood is prevalent here. He loves the fairgrounds. He's 4 out of 7 at the fairgrounds. Norm Cassidy trains him. He hasn't run since Kentucky Downs, winning an allowance starter race there. And he won his last 2 last fall before having some time off. So I think Don't Blame Rocket has a shot here at a price 12-1 morning line for Julien Leparoux, who I love on the turf. So those are my 3 picks. I'm going to agree with you, though. Mr. Misunderstood is probably the win pick I would go with.
Takes us to the 12th race, Silver Bullet Day. This is prep on the road to the Kentucky Oaks. It's 3-year-old fillies going 1 mile and 70 yards. And big favorite in here from the Asmussen barn, Finite, who won the Grade 2 Goldenrod in her last start. How do you see the Silver Bullet Day?
Yeah, this one's not nearly as competitive. I think it's a 2-horse race between Portrait, the 7, and Finite, the 6. Based on the Goldenrod race, that came on a sloppy track. But before that, she won the Rags to Riches at Churchill at 1 mile and won by 6. So she may even be better on a fast track. When it comes to pick 4, I'm going to single Finite based on that Goldenrod win. But Portrait worries me a little bit. Brad Cox and Giroux, this filly ran really well at Ellis Park. Came back in the Pocahontas, didn't run that well, but ducked in the stretch. Has a chance to redeem herself here in her first start in 2020. So 6-7 would be my pick if I had enough money, but I'm going to single the 6 since I'm going to have a lot of horses in the Lecomte.
I am looking the same way. I thought Portrait was the one I liked second best. I think the horse just got an easy lead that beat her last time. That finished ahead of her last time, Amos horse. So I think Portrait's the only other one I would look at, but I'm going to single Finite as well just because of needing to spread in other races. And 3 in a row, I have to think she's going to be ready off the bench to get on the road to the Oaks. So Finite for me as well. 13th race is the Grade 3 Lecomte, and this usually seems to draw a big field every year of horses, maybe maiden winners or first level allowance winners that are looking to jump up and get on that Derby trail with with all 4 feet. And for that reason, I wasn't afraid to take a swing in here because I wasn't real high on anybody. Scabbard's the one to beat, certainly, off those races last year, but the numbers were nothing special that he posted, and he was 4th in the Breeders' Cup, but there were only 5 horses. So he's certainly the one to beat off class. But I went outside and took a horse called Shake Me Up. Horse was touted first time out, bet down for his debut race, and he debuted at 7 furlongs, which is a tricky distance. Won going away, got an 83 buyer, put him in a stake at the fairgrounds, and it was a bad break, and it was a sloppy track. Hadn't been around 2 turns, but debuted at 7 furlongs, has a pedigree to stretch out, so I think he can do the 2 turns. And I think, Keith DeSormo knows how to handle a horse on the Derby trail, the Triple Crown trail, did it with Exaggerator a few years ago. So I wasn't really wild about anybody, so I thought, I like this horse in his 2 starts. He's 20-1, probably won't get 20-1, but going to be a big price. And I thought, why not take a swing here in a race where I don't really have a strong opinion? Scabbard was I thought the one to beat, and then there were just a host of others that I could make a case for, so I'm going to use them all. Lynn's Map and Enforceable from the Cassie barn, Silver State for Asmussen, couple of nice wins. Mr. Monomoy was related to Monomoy Girl and had a nice win in the second out at Churchill. And then Sycamore Run was a very impressive debut winner, and just on the chance for Joe Sharp that this one is something special, I'm going to throw him on there. So I'm going to go 6 deep when we get to the pick 4, but a somewhat shaky win pick for Shake Me Up. How about you?
Yeah, John Dooley's going to love that name, isn't he? I don't know.
Yes, he is.
I don't know how Travis Stone did it at Churchill, but that's kind of tough when you're calling them real fast, especially in a 13, 14 horse field. Going to save you a little money though, because Lynn's Map. Mark Cassey said today that he's going to scratch Lynn's Map because of the 14 hole.
There we go.
So they're only going to be
save a little money.
13 in here. That's right. Or you can substitute one of the other horses you don't know anything about. So this is a tough race. And when we get to pick 4, the reason I singled in the last race, I'm going to take them all here because I could not narrow it down below 7 horses. If you made me pick a horse, Mr. Monomoy has a lot of upside, I think. Was a sloppy track that last time out at Fairgrounds, and he almost won. Lynn's Mount just being by a neck or a head. I think he's got upside. I think Finnick the Fierce has some upside off that Kentucky Jockey Club run at 87-1. He really turned the corner there. Scabbard's going to be the one to beat. Accession for Steve Asmussen. Silver State for Steve Asmussen. Sycamore Run for Joe Sharp off that great maiden win. So I'm just going to take them all. Mr. Monomoy, if I got 9-2 or 5-1, might be worth a win bet, but the race is so wide open, I probably wouldn't even take that. So I'm going to take them all and pick 4.
So give me your pick 4 ticket. What's it look like?
All right. I can go backwards if you want, but I'll go forwards. Race 10, 4 horses, 2, 3, 4, 5. Silver Dust, Blended Citizen, Gunnet, and Captivating Moon. Remember, if some of those horses opt to run in the turf race, it changes a little bit. In the turf race, the Colonel E.R. Bradley, I'm going to go 3 deep with the 4, 10, 14. That's Don't Blame Rocket, Parlor, and Mr. Misunderstood. Going to single the 6 horse, Finite, in the Silver Bullet Day, and take them all in the last race. And that only costs you $78. You got 4 by 3 by single by 13. So 2, 3, 4, 5 with 4, 10, 14 with 6 with all.
I'm going to take a $30 ticket by singling Finite, 2, 3, 5 in the first leg, Blended Citizen, Silver Dust, Captivating Moon. Going to go 5, 8, 10, 14, which is Mr. Misunderstood and the 3 maker horses. Single Finite, and then 5 deep in the last leg, 2, 5, 10, 12, 13. And with Lynn's Map scratching, then that'll make it a $30 ticket. And I'm just going to play a smaller ticket just because if Finite wins, it's probably not going to pay much. If you want to double that, you could add Portrait and make it $60, which still isn't bad, and would definitely inflate the payoff if you could beat Finite. So you could think about that as well. But I'm going to stick with a $30 ticket, a small investment on this particular pick 4 Saturday at the Fairgrounds. Good luck if you're playing here or elsewhere, and we'll see you next week on the In the Money podcast from KeenelandSelect.com.